Hello and welcome to the first Dicey Encounters video of 2019, and probably the first thing I notice is I have a brand new microphone, so my voice is all silky and velvety instead of all trashy and weird from the headset microphone. And because it's the first video of the year, what I wanted to talk about was what I want to see in 2019, specifically from D&D and their creator Wizards of the Coast, because I think in 2018 we had a lot of cool stuff. We had Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, the Water Heist Deep adventure, we had Xanathar's Guide, and it's all kind of really cool stuff that builds on the game and the hobby and gives you more rules and mechanics and subclasses and really opens up the D&D to lots of different ways of playing it. So kind of building on that is what I would like to see come out in their new books, their new supplements, assuming that they're going to continue with 5th and not really 6th this year, which they probably won't. But these are the things that I want to see in 2019 that are going to help me make D&D better for me. Okay, so the first thing that I would like to see in 2019 is more rules for social encounters. I've been playing Curse of Strahd since March last year, so like 9 months, and pretty much every encounter that's in the book is a combat encounter or will probably turn into a combat encounter. It doesn't really give you any tools to help the players to solve an issue through social skills, and that really kind of annoyed one of my players. He's a bard. He has a +9 in persuasion, and he kind of never gets to use it because the book says, you're not allowed to come into this town unless you've done this thing and go kill these bad guys and got this thing, or you can't do this bit until you've gone and done this thing and killed these guys and killed that monster. So I had to homebrew and change part of one of the encounters, one of the chapters, to have more social aspects to it. And I took the tiny little paragraph in the Dungeon Master's Guide and I read that through, and I made the NPCs and thought about what their ideals were and their bonds were and their flaws were, and if they're indifferent or friendly or hostile, and I brought in other stuff from other games like Dark Heresy, where you can where NPCs are more susceptible to charm or interrogation and vice versa. So you'll have like a kind of a gang leader who's resistant to intimidation because he's really tough, but if you charm him, then that is a good way of convincing him to do what you want. But what I'd like is not for the social encounters to be as mechanized as combat, but kind of get it at least halfway there, at least give sort of ways for, and it can be optional. It doesn't have to be integral to the main game, but you can have like optional rules for social encounters or ways to build social encounters. And I know there's stuff like that in the books already, but the way that the adventures are written, particularly Curse of Strahd, which is supposed to be one of the, if not the best adventure so far, it really kind of makes characters like bards and rogues and people who want to be the face, it kind of leaves them out and makes them kind of think that they should multi-class or they should just go College of Blades instead, because killing stuff is the only fun thing to do in D&D. And then as a side note as well, all of the magical stuff that you can do in social encounters, all of the illusions and message and all this kind of stuff, all these spells that wizards can do, and they kind of just ignore, because unless they're thinking about it loads and loads and loads, or they're reading on forums what they can do, they don't really know that they can do all that stuff. They just know they can fireball at level 5. My second thing I want to see in 2019 from D&D is, if you saw my video on Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, you know that I like it a lot. And one of the things that I liked a lot about it was the ways that it would give you ideas and tables to set up your party from the get-go. It almost told you to have a session 0. It said you and your players should get together and decide if you're going to be in a guild, if you're going to be in different guilds. Here are ways that you have joined forces. Here are ways that you have contacts together. Here are ways that you're actually there's friction in the party, and you can all establish who your allegiances are, what kind of characters you are already. If you're allegiance to Boros Legion, you kind of know exactly what kind of character that's going to be and what kind of person they are. If you know they're in the Syndicate, then you know that they're actually out of character. You know that they are actually working for this organization, secretive organization, and they're just pretending, but your character can just play along. So I'd like to see something a bit like that, but that you can use for Forgotten Realms. You know, having like ideal party compositions, but also, you know, one of the hardest things about starting a campaign is players all having the character they want to have, and then coming to the first session, and then somehow all of these characters have to gel together in a natural way, and that doesn't normally happen in real life, let alone in D&D when everyone's trying to be the hero edgelord. Not only that, but if in session 0 you decide, your players decide, well, let's all be from a forest, or let's all be from the mountainous landscape, let's all be from the Arctic, you know, and then once they can look at the classes, then immediately that is changing what the classes are. So you're not going to have these stereotypical druids and rogues and all this kind of stuff. You're going to have really interesting characters that you wouldn't have thought of before, because you've come together first as a party to choose your overall theme, as it were. My third point, you know it. You know I have a problem with this, have had a problem with this. I did a whole video about it. It's alignment. Alignment, it just annoys me so much. I played last night, I DM'd last night, and it was annoying me. The problem with alignment is it makes the game want to have one foot in this kind of black and white moral world where good is good, evil is evil, and then nothing can interchange. But then the 5th edition especially is also trying to become a much more nuanced and deeper storytelling game as well. And, you know, really good stuff like Critical Role shows that you can have these really cool characters and great plots and stuff. And I think if alignment was still heavily regarded as something important in those kind of stories, then you just say, oh, well, he's alignment, he's lawful evil, so just going to kill him. In fact, the thing that happened to me last night was there was the paladin did a sense good or evil, and he sensed that this character, this NPC, was a celestial being. And immediately the whole party assumed this person was, you know, incredibly good, could do no wrong, and that was it. And the fact that he was doing something that they thought was questionable was just did not compute. It was a really difficult concept. You know, I didn't expect them to find out he was a celestial being until they did the sense good or evil. So yes, slapping kind of a one-dimensional description of every single NPC in the world makes it really, really hard to have any kind of nuanced character at all. So I kind of want Wizards to just work out what the hell you're doing with alignment. Are you keeping it? Are you dropping it? You know, what are you doing with it? Is it important? Is it not important? Is it just there for fun? Is it there because it used to be in the game and it's one of D&D's kind of staples? You know, and you know, it showed in Ravnica that you can have kind of allegiances to certain factions that have an overall ideal, such as lawfulness and chaoticness, but you can actually give players bonuses and consequences for working within that realm that they've picked. Or maybe just give like a way to opt out of alignment. Maybe that would just solve everything. Okay, my fourth point is I would love to see an advanced combat supplement or rules book, or a chapter in one of the new books about advanced optional combat rules, or sort of clarifications for questions that keep popping up. Games Workshop are great at this because they update their rule books all the time, and they post FAQs of questions that keep popping up online that you see over and over again, like rules questions where people are confused about the rules. And I think if we had a D&D one, that would be really helpful, because there's stuff like, I know they have probably clarified already, but there's stuff like you know, shooting into melee and flanking, and kind of how you enter stealth in combat and exit stealth in combat, and how it works with the sneak attack, and all these kind of fiddly rules that don't really need to be fleshed out if you're just playing casually. But a lot of people don't want to play casually, they want to really get into it in power game, and that's where they find the fun. So you know, that would really be helpful to them. And also giving players more different options, different actions to do. You know, give them an aim bonus action, so they can have a bonus on their ranged attack, or have an overpowered swing thing where you can some sort of like extra powerful hit, but it gives the advantage to the enemy or something like that. Or you can charge, so if you run 20 feet you get a bonus on your attack at the end. People love seeing big damage. Just make more things where you can have bigger damage. And this is important as well because you notice if your party is missing its damage dealer. When my party is missing their sorcerer, you can really tell in combat. You can really tell that there are not fireballs going off and there's not 8d6 damage going off, because combat just takes such a long time. Getting to level 5 and above, and you start to get these enemies with over 100 HP, and you have your classes like bards and clerics and druids who are kind of, or maybe certain types of fighters even, who are doing 1d10 1d12 damage, if that, a turn, a couple of times. And then the enemies are like casting all these spells and they've got shield and they're making them get disadvantage. And if you don't have your buffs and if you don't have your big damage dealers, it's going to take a really long time to do a fight. And I get bored, and I can tell my players are getting bored, and I have to like start a meteor shower. I have to make the building collapse just to make it more interesting. So yes, maybe like a big sort of dedicated, let's talk about combat, advanced combat, to make sure that your campaign, maybe for sort of second, third campaigns that you've done with the same players, they really want the combat to be fun and interesting, and they want it to be good from the get-go, because you don't want people to be like, oh, I have to take fighter because I want the fighting to be interesting, because it's 90% of what we do here. You want to give other characters a chance. You want to let the bards and the clerics have a go at doing some cool stuff in combat as well. Maybe even have stuff like what's in the Fantasy Flight Games Star Wars system, where you can have like minions that come in groups, and every time you do so much damage, you kill one. So it's like one big health pool. So killing stuff is, you kill more stuff and it's more fun. And then you have proper NPCs who are like characters who are a much more tougher fight, instead of having 10 enemies that are all equally as annoying to deal with. So my last thing is something I actually just think would be really cool. It's having like a best player characters list. And I don't mean like the best actual player, like the human player, but have some sort of like database on the D&D website, the Wizards website, where people can like submit their coolest character ideas. And you can sort it by class and race. So say you wanted to start like a new character, and you can put in the class and race, and then it will just hit you with all these really cool ideas that people have had for characters, and how they viewed their story arc going, or how their story arc did go, how they reacted to other characters, or the cool moments they had, or the worst moments they had, or how they died, or how they didn't die. And I just think it'd be a really interesting way for new players or other players to kind of get that really cool inspiration, because you see online all the time people telling stories about their characters, and especially if their characters defy stereotypes as well. And I think stuff like Xanathars and Guildmasters did a really good job of introducing subclasses that change the characters to be a little bit different. Stuff like the Domain of the Grave Cleric, or the Circle of Spores Druid, makes you think about them in a completely different way, which is really cool. But let's kind of collect the hive mind together, and so we can really kind of smash those, bloody Goliath barbarian tropes. And I do have one little bonus thing that I would like to see in 2019. It's just a kind of a niggle really, but just like I want them to sort out D&D Beyond, like just sort it out or finish it eventually, do a full release. That'd be great. Give us the character sheet app, give us character sheets on the apps. That'd be amazing. Fix the export PDFs so that it tells you what the spells do instead of just giving you a list of spells. Allow me to tell you that I have bought Curse of Strahd book for £30, and let me have the content for Curse of Strahd on D&D Beyond as well, because instead of my players having to spend £2.50 or whatever it is to buy the magic items that I'm giving them in the campaign, so that they can have them on the character sheets. I don't want to have to buy it twice. That's annoying. It's it's sad I had to buy Ravnica on D&D Beyond in the compendium, because instead of having a nice book that I can keep on my shelf, because if I was going to play it in a campaign, I knew that I would be $10 short of getting all the in D&D Beyond stuff for my players, which is much more useful, especially because it has classes and races and stuff. Okay, everyone, that was my first video of 2019. Yay, Dicey Encounters. I don't really have a plan for what I'm going to do for the rest of the year. I probably should with the site. As per usual, feel free to comment on what you'd like to see. If you have any of your things you want to see from D&D in 2019, put them in the comments. If you have anything you want to see from my channel, let me know. I mean, I spend basically half my time thinking about D&D, half my time thinking about Warhammer. Like you can see here, like I just painted that this week. How fucking cool is that? So, if you want to see me do some Warhammer content, let me know, because I can do that. I would love to do that. I'm just not really an expert at it, but, I play all the time and paint all the time, so maybe, So yeah, new videos every Friday here on the YouTube channel. New blogs every week, at least one every week, over at dicyencounters.com. The blogs normally are the same as the video, but just in written form. Sometimes they're a little bit different. I'm going to try and start doing some more bloggy stuff, more Warhammer video game stuff as well. I'm also a community manager. I've been a community manager for 4 years in the video game industry as well. So if you have any questions about that, I'm happy to answer them. Happy to do a video or an article about that. I really have no plans for 2019. I probably should, but just let me know if you really give a shit. Okay, I'll stop waffling now. I will see you next week. Until then.